I stood by my partner throughout her doctoral studies. After she completed her PhD, she ended our relationship, arguing that my level of education was insufficient for us to engage in meaningful discussions. The man embracing her had an expression filled with scorn. In a moment of anger, I threw a punch, dislodging his ostentatious designer sunglasses. 9 years of love, now shattered in an instant. Ending a relationship is acceptable, but there's always a cost. "Repay me with interest," I demanded. Jake scrambled up, his fist clenched, shouting furiously. "Liam, are you out of your mind? Do you realize how pricey those sunglasses are?" I smirked. "Of course I do, considering I paid for them myself." Instantly, Emily's demeanor darkened. Other customers in the cafe began to watch us. Embarrassed, she swiftly pulled Jake closer and hushed him. "Liam, stop making a scene. Stop making a scene." I reclined my chair, observing Emily's once familiar face, now completely alien to me, with a hint of amusement. "What? Did I offend you? He's just a regular second-year student from an ordinary background. How did he afford such luxury items?" Emily's eyes filled with disappointment as she looked at me. "Liam, you've changed. When did you become so materialistic and resentful?" I nearly laughed out loud. Emily and I were classmates in university, both originating from a small, rural town. As friends from the same hometown and classmates, we naturally understood each other better than most. This connection led us to become a couple. Her father passed away early, leaving her mother to raise her alone. After graduation, Emily expressed her desire to pursue further studies, but her mother's poor health made it impossible to support her financially. I decided to enter the workforce instead. She often mentioned that once she finished her PhD, we would move to the city together. However, the first thing she did after graduating was to break up with me. From our freshman year until now, 9 long years had passed. What seemed sturdy was actually delicate. Jake appeared ready to fight, but ultimately he turned to Emily and feigned concern. "Emily, are you okay?" Emily shook her head, smiled at him, and then faced me with a cold expression. "Liam, I know I've wronged you, but we're not right for each other. Continuing this relationship will only hurt us both." "Don't worry, I'll repay all the money you've invested in me over the years." I took out a piece of paper from my pocket and handed it to her. "Here you go. This is the detailed list with the total at the bottom. Transfer it to my PayPal account. It's convenient." Emily's expression froze momentarily. Jake glanced at the paper and couldn't help but raise his voice. "Why is the amount so high?" I lost my patience. "Including interest, Jake. It's only fair, isn't it?" Emily patted Jake's shoulder and whispered to soothe him. "It's fine. I just received my relocation bonus. This amount is nothing." "Ha, relocation bonus." I scoffed. "Relocation bonus? Confirm the payment." Emily visibly relaxed. Jake pulled her into his arms and shot me a provocative smile. "Brother Liam, you need to start thinking about yourself. At your age, a man with nothing to offer isn't exactly attractive to women." I lifted my chin slightly. "Thanks for the advice, but those sunglasses need to be returned. And that shirt, bought with my money." Jake responded, "It's summer, so keep it on. It's not appropriate to strip it off. Consider it payment for helping me dispose of the trash." Emily's reaction must have been priceless. My roommate and coworker Ethan burst into laughter, forgetting his face mask. "Ha ha ha, Liam, I always thought that woman wasn't worth your effort. A trashy girl with a handsome guy. What a perfect match. You deserve so much better." I pointed at the sunglasses still lying on the table. "Didn't you mention you had a way to handle these? Help me get rid of them." Ethan nodded repeatedly. Yes, these sunglasses are dirty now. We'll get new ones." I shook my head, uninterested. "Liam, seriously, you should treat yourself better." Ethan scrutinized me. "You never even order delivery over $20, and your clothes are always cheap. Do you think that's fair to your appearance and confidence?" I shrugged helplessly. "I just don't have the money." Ethan's expression grew complex. Damn, you're the top performer in the company, the recognized workaholic, the one who works the hardest. If you say you don't have money, then what does that make the rest of us? I sighed. I've been eyeing a small apartment. You know the housing prices around here, so I'm really tight on cash. Ethan looked like he was about to throw a punch. You're trying to provoke me, right? We joined the company at the same time, and now you're already looking to buy a place. It wasn't a new thought. I had been searching for apartments for a while, thinking Emily and I would settle down after her graduation. Turns out, it was all wishful thinking. So I quickly selected a different small apartment in another neighborhood, using my savings from the past few years and a little help from my parents. It should be manageable. She even offered me her relocation bonus. I might as well use it. Ethan gave me a thumbs up. Liam, you're a legend. It seemed like Emily had completely vanished from my life, and the pain I expected never truly arrived. The moment I saw her holding Jake's hand in front of me, I had already severed all ties with her. But seriously, Liam, it's time you thought about finding someone new. Why hang on to one person? On the subway, Ethan continued his persuasive talk. I remained calm. I'm only interested in getting wealthy. Women, no interest. Ethan grinned. What if I introduce you to a few? They've got great qualifications. Trust me, bro, I know my stuff. From the corner of my eye, I noticed a slender figure standing to my right, her silky black hair casually draped behind her. With a delicate nose and elegant features, she looked like she was barely in her 20s. Despite wearing the simplest white dress, she somehow exuded an air of sophistication. I nodded slightly and casually remarked, "See that girl? If they're not as pretty as her, I'm not interested." Ethan seemed eager. "All right, then I will." The girl must have sensed something and suddenly turned her head to look in our direction. Her profile was already stunning, but her full face, that unexpected beauty, nearly knocked me off balance. Since when are there so many gorgeous women in the world? Thankfully, she quickly looked away and went back to her phone. I inexplicably breathed a sigh of relief. All right, Ethan also caught a glimpse of her face and flipped me the middle finger. You've got some nerve. I guess you're destined to die alone. Getting caught making such comments was embarrassing, no doubt. But who would have thought the beauty would get off at the same stop, head in the same direction, and eventually enter the same company? The manager greeted me with a grin. Hey, Liam, this is Vanessa. She's new to the company, and you'll be mentoring her. Can I turn back time now? Is it too late? The manager smiled again. Vanessa, this is a great opportunity. You should make the most of it and learn from Liam. I understand. Thank you, manager. Thank you. Not only was Vanessa stunning, but her voice was pleasant too. She glanced over at me with her big, beautiful eyes. I cleared my throat. Hello, I'm Liam. She smiled softly. Thank you, Liam. The news of the new beauty in the company spread like wildfire. By noon, everyone had heard about it. My WeChat was flooded with messages from colleagues, all fishing for information about Vanessa. Of course, there was one exception. Ethan, you know what we call destiny. This, such a beautiful girl. Liam, go for it. Me, I still want to remain single. Thanks. Vanessa is 22 years old, graduated from one of the top 2 finance programs in the country. And don't even get me started on that face and those long legs. The most important thing in life is to know one's place, Ethan added. However, she's only 5 years younger than you. If Emily could date a second-year student, why can't you go for this younger girl? If you'd just put some effort into yourself, you'd have no trouble winning her over. I ignored him, and as it was almost lunchtime, I went with a few colleagues to take Vanessa out for lunch. We usually eat around here. There are plenty of good spots on the 2nd and 3rd floors. We sat down at a self-service restaurant we frequented, and the place was buzzing with customers. Although Vanessa was new, she had a great personality. Not overly talkative, but she could keep up with any conversation. Being around her felt comfortable. It was clear she had been raised well. Everyone warmed up to her quickly. I stood by the fruit section with a small plate in hand when Vanessa approached. I had been wanting to clear the air with her since the morning, but the company gossip mill was relentless. Now was my chance. Vanessa? She turned and smiled. What would you like? I can get it for you. Shh. Kids these days are so good at this. Ah, pineapple. Thanks, I said, glancing at her. And about this morning on the subway, I was just joking. Don't take it seriously. All right. Vanessa placed a small plate of pineapple in front of me and smiled. I won't. Then, she asked, do you want some lychees? I turned to see the server had just brought out a fresh batch of lychees and nodded. Sure. The food didn't really matter, but since she was being so gracious, I might as well indulge. Just then, a voice filled with surprise broke the mood. Liam? I frowned, my good mood evaporating, and turned around. Of course, it was Emily and Jake. Emily looked at me, then at Vanessa, and her face darkened. A new girlfriend, she muttered. How amusing. That tone, as if she's catching someone cheating. Who does she think she's talking to? I smiled coldly. This has nothing to do with you, does it? You didn't ask for my opinion when you found a new boyfriend, did you? Emily froze. Thanks to some mutual friends, I knew that just after breaking up with me, Emily was already flaunting her new relationship on social media, not to mention even before the breakup. Jake had personally sent me pictures of him and Emily kissing. Emily glanced at Vanessa again. Liam, I'm saying this for your own good. Although we've broken up, I still want you to be happy. Don't let someone with ulterior motives deceive you. I nodded in agreement. You're right. Once someone gets hurt, they tend to learn a lesson. Emily's face changed, and she looked like she wanted to say more, but Jake pulled her back. His expression was worse than when his precious designer sunglasses hit the ground. Emily seemed to snap out of it, realizing she'd said too much to me. Amid the tense atmosphere, a soft voice chimed in. Liam, should I get you another plate of shrimp? Vanessa's gentle tone carried a hint of warmth, and it seemed like she didn't care about the awkward targeting or pay any attention to the couple. What a great assist, I immediately replied. Sure, anything you pick, I'll like. Emily, looking pale, was pulled away by Jake. I turned to Vanessa. Sorry about that. You got dragged into this. Vanessa smiled lightly. It's no problem. Back at the table, Ethan nudged me with his elbow and whispered, Liam, I just saw that couple. But they didn't seem right. They looked like they were arguing. They left before they even touched their food. I picked up a crawfish and mused. Must be what happens when money makes you irrational. Back in college, Emily was just a poor student. Her living expenses barely covered her needs, and we mostly ate in the cafeteria. Later, when she started her PhD, her stipend increased. But I felt bad for her working so hard, so I never let her pay for anything. I'd even send her money so she could focus on her studies. All that money ended up benefiting another man. Ethan snorted. I thought it was true love. Guess it's not all that. I wasn't interested in continuing the conversation. Instead, I focused on grilling some meat for the group and pushed a plate of lychees toward Vanessa. Judging by her earlier question, she probably liked them. Vanessa blinked, smiled softly, and thanked me. As it turned out, exceptional people excel at everything they do. Vanessa picked up work quickly. Most of the time, she didn't even need my guidance to do things perfectly. I started to feel like my role as her mentor was unnecessary, but not completely unnecessary, because the guys who wanted to pursue Vanessa had started trying to get to me first. Liam, help us out. We're not asking for much. Just find out what kind of guy she likes. I was a bit surprised. From my time working with her, I thought Vanessa had a pretty nice personality, but judging by what they said, it seemed like she wasn't interested in dating at all. She had this subtle air of aloofness, which made them hesitant to approach her directly, so they all turned to me for help. I waited for a quiet moment to ask her myself. Vanessa, I began. Vanessa turned her head toward me. I coughed and leaned in a little. Do you have someone you like? Her single status had become an open secret on her first day at the company. Vanessa blinked in surprise, not answering immediately. Then I noticed her ears turning red. She didn't need to say anything. I already knew the answer. So, I continued, curious and puzzled, you're not with him? With everything you have going for you? Which guy could possibly resist if you made a move? Vanessa spoke softly. No, I don't know if he would like me. Who would have thought that such a stunning woman could have a secret crush? If Vanessa didn't have someone she liked, I could have helped set her up. But since she had her heart set on someone, it wasn't my place to intervene. Why not? I couldn't help but ask. With your looks, wouldn't he fall for you instantly? Vanessa's beautiful eyes seemed to sparkle as she stared at me. Liam, do you really think so? Of course, I replied. It's not just me. Everyone in the company would agree. If you like him, go after him. What kind of man could resist you? Or if you tell me the situation, I could help you figure things out. I was genuinely curious. What kind of guy could capture Vanessa's heart and make her so unsure of herself? Vanessa's pretty red lips pressed together as if she was hesitating. I got ready to listen eagerly, but before she could respond, the manager walked over. Liam, you and Vanessa need to visit the client this afternoon. I nodded. Got it. By the time we finished with the client, it was already dusk. As we entered the subway station, I heard a loud commotion up ahead. I glanced over and saw an elderly woman holding onto a young girl, yelling about something. Apparently, the woman had tried to sneak into the subway by following closely behind the girl, who noticed and said something. This caused the old lady to lose her temper, grabbing the girl and refusing to let her go. My daughter's a PhD. She's affluent. Why would I need to sneak in without paying? You, on the other hand, dressed like that at your age, no decency, and now you're slandering me. In reality, the girl was just wearing a normal t-shirt and shorts. Who would have thought the old lady would turn the situation around like that, driving the girl to tears? Eventually, subway staff came and persuaded the elderly woman to leave. Vanessa walked over and handed the crying girl a tissue. As we left the subway, Vanessa looked at me thoughtfully. That old lady? Do you know her? Of course I do. How could I not recognize Emily's mother? So Emily had already brought her over. But judging by how feisty she looked, it didn't seem like she was as ill as Emily had made her out to be. I don't know her. I shook my head. And back at the office, since I wanted to submit the proposal as soon as possible, I decided to stay and work late. Vanessa, you can head home. I'll finish this up. Vanessa glanced at my screen. I don't have anything else to do tonight, so if you need help, just let me know. I hesitated for a moment, then agreed. With Vanessa's help, I'd definitely finish a lot faster. I'll treat you to dinner afterward. Vanessa smiled and sat down next to me. Sounds good. Time passed slowly, and colleagues gradually left the office. By 10:20 p.m., the work was finally done, and Vanessa and I prepared to leave. Suddenly, the lights went out, and we were surrounded by darkness. A blackout. Vanessa, the power's out. Let's take the stairs down. Before I could finish, I noticed something was off with Vanessa. In the darkness, her breathing grew heavy, and her body stiffened, becoming completely motionless. Vanessa. I reached out to her. Her hand was ice cold and trembling slightly. In the next moment, she grabbed my hand tightly, her voice shaky and hoarse. Liam. Something was wrong with Vanessa. She was gripping my hand tightly, her palms slick with sweat. I hesitated for a moment before squeezing her hand back. Vanessa, let's go down. In the darkness, I could barely make out Vanessa looking at me. After a brief pause, she nodded. With the elevator out of service, we walked down floor by floor from the 10th story. By the time we reached the ground floor, the lights outside finally cast some illumination over us. It was as if Vanessa snapped out of a daze. We reached the ground floor, and the lights outside finally cast some illumination over us. It was as if Vanessa snapped out of a daze. She lowered her gaze to our clasped hands and quickly let go. Thank you, Liam. Under the dim light, her ears seemed to have a reddish tint. I smiled, not pressing the issue. As long as you're okay, I'll head out. Vanessa looked like she wanted to say something, but in the end, she just nodded in silence. On my way home, I couldn't help but think back to how Vanessa had looked earlier. Was she afraid of the dark? But it didn't seem like it was just that. Still, it was her personal matter, and I wasn't going to pry. Liam? At the sound of the voice, I frowned, seeing Emily suddenly appear in front of me, which instantly annoyed me. Why wouldn't she leave me alone? I kept walking forward, but she caught up anyway. Liam, I need to talk to you. I stopped, glaring at her with impatience, only now noticing that she looked pretty worn out, as if she hadn't slept well. Emily, do you not understand what breaking up means? Emily sighed. Liam, it's not like that. I just wanted to talk. I'm so stressed at home. What does that have to do with me? But Emily kept talking. My mom came. She doesn't like Jake. And Jake, he got into a fight with her, and now he barely talks to me. He's nothing like you were. As she spoke, she seemed to get even more agitated. I thought he'd understand, but who knew? Heh, with her mom's temper, what man could put up with that? I couldn't help but chuckle at her. Emily, showing up late at night to badmouth your current boyfriend to your ex, that's pretty creative. Instead of getting angry, Emily looked oddly pleased. Liam, you're jealous, aren't you? What? I knew it. After all the time we were together, there's no way you could just forget. Lately, I've been thinking about you. As she spoke, Emily reached out, trying to hug me. I recoiled in disgust. Emily, try touching me and see what happens. Tears welled up in her eyes. I can't live without you, Liam. Let's get back together. Okay. Before I could respond, a calm, cold voice interrupted from the side. No. Vanessa appeared. Liam. What are you doing here? I asked. Emily glared at Vanessa, her eyes darting between the two of us. This is between Liam and me. Since when does an outsider like you get to interfere? What right do you have to say that? My stomach churned. Don't call me that. I cut her off coldly. It disgusts me. Emily's face turned pale, as if my words hurt her more than Vanessa's. She murmured in disbelief. No, that's impossible. You used to love me, playing the part. I walked over to Vanessa and put my arm around her shoulders. She's my girlfriend, so of course, she has the right to say that. Vanessa stiffened for a moment but didn't push me away, looking at Emily. Liam, each word clearly, I was blind to waste so much time on you, but now I've found someone I truly care about. Please don't disturb us anymore. We were classmates, and I'd rather not make things ugly. Emily's face twisted in humiliation and anger. Her eyes red as she bit her lip hard. As I spoke, I discreetly squeezed Vanessa's shoulder, signaling her to play along. After a brief pause, Vanessa tilted her head and gently leaned against my chest. Emily cried and ran off. It wasn't until she disappeared from sight that I finally breathed a sigh of relief. The silence around us made the soft warmth of Vanessa's presence all the more noticeable. That's when I realized how close we were, and I quickly stepped back. Vanessa blinked, lowered her head, and brushed her hair aside, revealing her slightly flushed ears. An awkward silence settled between us. I cleared my throat. Thanks for your help today. If it weren't for you, this could have gotten messy. Vanessa shook her head. It's no big deal. If she bothers you again, just let me know. I doubted Emily would have the nerve to come back, but still. By the way, what I said earlier... Vanessa glanced up at me, her eyes like stars. I explained awkwardly, I only said you were my girlfriend to make her give up. I hope you don't mind. The light in Vanessa's eyes dimmed after a moment. She forced a smile and said, It's okay. I'm glad I could help. Another suffocating silence fell between us. I broke it first. It's late. Let me walk you home. It's not safe for a girl to be out alone. Vanessa didn't refuse. When we reached her apartment building, I thanked her again. Thanks again for today. Vanessa shook her head. You're being too polite, Liam. I'll head up now. You should get some rest too. I watched until the light in her apartment turned on before heading home. By the time I got back, it was late. Ethan was sprawled on the couch working on a project and casually asked, Hey Liam, what took you so long tonight? For some reason, I felt a bit guilty. So I made up an excuse and went straight to my room. My phone pinged. It was a message from Vanessa. Good night, Liam. I rubbed my face, forcing myself to calm down. Liam, get a grip. Just because a ridiculously beautiful girl helped you out doesn't mean anything. She was just being polite. Nothing more. After taking a deep breath and settling down, I finally picked up my phone to respond. After editing and deleting several drafts, I finally sent a single message. Good night. It was a small matter, but I still didn't sleep well that night. I decided that from now on, I needed to keep my distance from Vanessa. If nothing else, spending too much time with someone like her would make it hard not to fall for her. I still wanted to keep things professional all the way to work. I rehearsed in my head what to say to Vanessa to keep things natural. But when I got to the office, she wasn't there. Vanessa called in sick today. Didn't you know? She messaged. Liam, my heart sank. Sick. How could she suddenly be sick out of nowhere? For some reason, I thought back to Vanessa's reaction during the blackout last night. Sitting at my desk, I couldn't shake the uneasy feeling. In the end, I sent her a message. Vanessa, are you sick? A few minutes later, Vanessa replied, It's nothing serious, just a little cold. I sighed with relief. Good, make sure to rest. Vanessa sent back a bunny emoji nodding its head. I stared at the screen for a moment, then couldn't help but laugh. Somehow, I could imagine her being all cute and obedient as she typed it out. Liam, what are you laughing at? I didn't even notice Ethan had snuck up behind me. I instinctively locked my screen. Nothing, just goofing off and watching a funny video. Ethan smirked teasingly. What are you hiding from me? Spill it, something's going on, isn't it? Myself, I replied. Don't be ridiculous. I'm just focused on making money. Who has time for anything else? Ethan stroked his chin. True, I shooed him away, feeling oddly guilty. The next day, Vanessa was back at work. Seeing that she seemed fine, I was relieved. But then I started to wonder if I'd been thinking too much about her lately. It just didn't feel appropriate. So, for the next while, I quietly reduced my interactions with Vanessa. Aside from necessary work-related conversations, I barely spoke to her. There were a few times when Vanessa seemed like she wanted to talk, but she never got the chance. One morning, I arrived at the office to find a small, beautifully wrapped gift box on my desk. Curious, I opened it and found a delicate rabbit-shaped cake inside. A coworker gasped from nearby. Wow, Liam, that cake is from a really expensive bakery. Custom ones like this start at 4 figures. And a little bunny? Does someone know you were born in the year of the rabbit? Who's chasing after you? They must really care. Damn, it's so expensive, I muttered. However, after asking around for a while, I still couldn't figure out who sent it. I hesitated and set the cake aside, planning to call the store later. When I looked up, I saw Vanessa. She walked over, her gaze sweeping over the cake. Suddenly, I had a realization and pulled her closer. Vanessa, did you send this cake? Vanessa didn't seem to expect me to be so direct. She coughed lightly and simply asked, Do you like it? Did you really send it? I frowned. This is too expensive. It was almost equivalent to your entire month's internship salary. I appreciate the gesture, but we should return this cake. Vanessa paused for a moment, then smiled. Liam, you can't return a custom-made birthday cake? Huh, that's true, and Liam has taught me so much lately. Consider this a token of appreciation. Please, don't be modest. Or, do you not like it? I do, with such heartfelt effort. How could I say I didn't like it? Besides, the little bunny was indeed adorable. Just like someone I knew. Wait, Liam. Calm down. Vanessa's eyes lit up. As long as you like it, Liam. I sighed. Next time, don't be so extravagant. You should save this money for yourself. Although Vanessa appeared well-mannered, her clothes and accessories were modest. Not what you'd expect from a wealthy family. This cake seemed way too lavish. Vanessa chuckled. As long as you like it, the money was well spent. Meeting her gaze, I clearly heard my heartbeat quicken. Instinctively, I looked away. In the past, I used to carefully pick gifts for Emily, but I rarely received any in return, especially ones so thoughtfully given. However, Vanessa's gift was far too valuable. Her birthday wasn't for another half a year. After much thought, I gave her a return gift 3 days later. Vanessa, congratulations on your 1-month anniversary at work. Inside was a bottle of perfume I had carefully selected after consulting several guides. I figured a girl like her would appreciate it. Vanessa opened the box, but her smile faltered slightly. I quickly asked, "What's wrong? Don't you like it?" Vanessa looked up. Liam, do you really have to keep such strict accounts with me? It was obvious this gift upset her. I laughed awkwardly. What do you mean? I'm practically your mentor. Isn't it appropriate for me to give a small gift? Saying this, I gave her a thumbs up. Out of all the newcomers I've trained, you rank at the top. Little sister, Vanessa quietly watched me. She was smart. She could clearly grasp the meaning behind my words. After a moment, she lowered her gaze, looking at the gift box. So, if it were someone else, would you have given them a gift too, Liam? I clicked my tongue. Not necessarily. She looked up, her dark eyes clear, holding an unspeakable emotion. It was as if she was waiting for something. I deliberately lowered my voice. What I gave you is better than what I'd give anyone else. The light in Vanessa's eyes dimmed. After a long pause, she packed up the gift, forcing a smile despite her evident disappointment. I understand. Thank you, Liam. That matter was like a small pebble thrown into the river, causing a few ripples. But soon, everything returned to normal. We continued working together as usual, but after that day, it felt like an invisible barrier had formed between Vanessa and me. This feeling was subtle but unmistakable. She soon became fully capable of handling work independently, achieving impressive results. A woman working earnestly often radiates a special charm, and Vanessa was no exception. Given her single status, it was no surprise that bold and passionate men frequently pursued her. In the mornings, her desk was often adorned with various delicate gifts, but they all quickly disappeared. Perhaps she returned them, or maybe she kept them, but none of it had anything to do with me. That weekend, I moved into a new place. The landlord had recently renovated the apartment but hadn't lived there yet, which was convenient for me. Just after getting off work, I received a call from my mom. As I carried my bag out the door, I listened to her talk. After some casual conversation about the apartment and my job, she hesitated and said, Liam, I ran into an old friend recently. She said her daughter works in the same city as you, at a bank. It's a stable job, and she's doing well. Do you want to meet her? I paused. Mom, I don't want to go on a blind date right now. My mom hesitated, then softly asked, Liam, be honest with me. Are you still not over Emily? A wave of exhaustion washed over me. Hearing her cautious tone, I rubbed my temples. No, I'm just tired today. I'll arrange to meet her sometime. My mom eagerly agreed. After hanging up, I looked up and unexpectedly met Vanessa's gaze. She stood there, her expression calm. I wasn't sure how much she had overheard. I smiled and nodded at her, but didn't say anything. Ding. We entered the elevator together. It was just the two of us, yet the air felt thick. I kept my eyes glued to my phone, switching between different apps, feeling like the elevator was taking forever today. Liam, are you going on a blind date? Vanessa broke the silence. I could only nod. Yeah. Does she like you? Her question caught me off guard. We hadn't met yet, but my mom says she's nice. Vanish stared at me, unrelenting. Do you like her? That doesn't matter. I looked away. And besides, this is my personal business, Vanessa. It has nothing to do with you. Vanessa took a step forward, as if trying hard to suppress something. Her eyes flashed with an unspeakable hint of grievance. Nothing to do with me? Yes, I'm nothing. Whoever you want to see, whoever you want to be with, has nothing to do with me. Yes, I'm nothing. Whoever you want to see, whoever you want to be with, has nothing to do with me. But can't I at least ask? I frowned. Vanessa. It was as if she didn't hear me. She stepped closer, her pure face now showing an unusual stubbornness. It doesn't matter if two people are together. How can liking each other not matter? I quietly looked at her. What exactly are you trying to say? Vanessa pressed her lips together, her eyelashes trembling gently. She seemed both incredibly nervous and incredibly impulsive. Word by word, she said, I like you, Liam. Don't you know that? The silence around us was so deep you could hear someone's heartbeat. I tilted my head slightly and gave her a small smile. I know now. So what? What difference does it make? Vanessa's face showed shock, as if she hadn't expected me to respond like this. Liam, I'm almost 30. I don't have the interest or energy to play those so-called love games anymore. My voice was calmer than I expected. I had a relationship that lasted 9 years. It hurt me deeply. I can't take that kind of chaos again. You're different. You're only 22, well-educated, have a good job, and you're beautiful. What kind of guy wouldn't want you? Why waste your time on me? Vanessa's voice was hoarse. Just because I'm a few years younger than you. My feelings mean nothing to you. How do you know I'm just playing around? You don't know anything. You... The elevator door opened. Her voice abruptly stopped. I took a step back, walked out of the elevator, and said softly, Vanessa, the last woman who promised to stay with me forever wasted 9 years of my life. I don't have the energy to get to know someone from scratch and go through all that again. Vanessa seemed like she wanted to reach out and grab my hand. But when she heard what I said, her movements froze. There was a look in her eyes that I couldn't quite understand. But I couldn't, nor did I dare look any longer. Pretending to be casual, I shrugged and turned away. Goodbye. Hey, Liam, what's going on with you and Vanessa? During lunch, Ethan lowered his voice and asked, Nothing's going on. Why are you asking? Ethan nodded his head towards the other side of the room. Vanessa used to always eat with us, but now... What's up with that guy? I instinctively turned around and saw a tall, slender guy standing across from Vanessa. Vanessa, can I sit here? It was Alex, the new, trendy guy at the company. He worked in another department, so we hadn't crossed paths much. I only recognized him because on his first day, he drove a Porsche to work. More importantly, everyone knew he was chasing Vanessa. Vanessa glanced at him, her tone indifferent. It's the company cafeteria. You can sit wherever you want. Anyone could see she was turning him down. But Alex didn't mind. He raised an eyebrow with a smile and sat down. So, I'll take that as a yes. Ethan nudged my arm. Guys like him are pretty hard to resist. Right. I bet it's only a matter of time before he wins over Vanessa. I turned my attention back to my phone and kept texting. Ethan? He asked, unimpressed. Who are you texting? That girl I told you about. My mom's friend's daughter. We're meeting for lunch this weekend. Ethan raised an eyebrow. The one who started off by asking about your car, house, and savings? Meeting her won't hurt. Besides, it's normal for someone going on a blind date to ask about these things. Hey, Vanessa, are you done eating? Alex's surprised voice came from behind, following Vanessa as she walked away. I don't like the cafeteria food either. How about we order takeout? What do you feel like eating? No need. Vanessa walked past me. While I looked down at my phone, reading the time and place the blind date had just confirmed, I replied, Got it? On the weekend, I arrived 15 minutes early at the meeting spot, only to run into Emily and Jake, who I hadn't seen in a while. They seemed to be picking out phones but had gotten into an argument. Jake's face showed irritation. This phone doesn't even cost that much, and it only broke because of your mom last time. Say that. If you don't want to spend the money, I'll just buy it myself. Who are you trying to impress with that attitude? Emily's face looked uncomfortable. You just got a new phone 3 months ago. You could have it repaired. I'm not saying I don't want to spend the money, but my mom is sick, and we have expenses piling up everywhere, so now you're blaming me. Jake sneered. Emily, stop pretending you can afford love. What's the point of acting like someone you're not? And by the way, Liam's probably living the good life now, dating some young, pretty girl. Why would he waste his time with you? Emily slapped him hard, trembling with anger. Shut up! Jake's face darkened. You think you can treat me like that, Emily? You're no prize either. The only reason Liam liked you was because he was blind. Who else would put up with you? Emily's chest heaved as her face flushed with red and white patches. People around us began to stare. Emily finally seemed to realize what she had done. She glanced up and saw me, panic flashing in her eyes. Liam? I turned away, moving with the crowd towards the escalator, ignoring the noisy scene behind me, watching them. I felt no emotion at all. Instead, one thought crossed my mind. When did I get a girlfriend? As for that so-called girlfriend, she probably already had a new boyfriend by now, didn't she? So your house isn't fully paid off? A woman sitting across from me forced a smile. Then, after we get married, I'd have to help pay the mortgage too. Suppressing my discomfort, I smiled. Don't worry, my salary is enough to cover the mortgage on my own. She frowned. But that would be too much pressure. Our quality of life would probably decline after marriage. I stared at my teacup, considering when it would be polite to end this meeting. She kept talking. Mr. Lee, don't get me wrong. I'm not after your money. I just think since we're both serious about marriage, we should discuss these things. How about adding my name to the house deed? And you could also write a promissory note to hand over your salary in the future. I stood up. Sorry, I don't think we're compatible. She furrowed her brows. Mr. Lee, at your age, can you really afford to be this picky? This blind date was officially a failure. That woman had it all figured out. Ethan slapped me on the shoulder. Our Liam is good-looking and makes money. If she had Vanessa's looks, maybe it'd be worth keeping her around. Stop it, I snapped him out of his fantasy. Ethan grinned. Forget it, she's not worth it. How about we go play a murder mystery game? What? I wasn't too interested, but Ethan begged me, saying it was an excuse to pursue a girl. So I finally agreed to join him. When I saw that Vanessa was there too, I shot Ethan a glare. This was your idea, not hers coming. Not only was Vanessa there, but Alex had also followed her. Wherever she went, she was always the center of attention. Aside from glancing at me when we first received the script, she didn't interact with me again. When she wasn't smiling, her expression was distant. And even Alex didn't dare to get too close. The plot was a school bullying scenario. While searching a classroom for clues, there was a sudden bang and the lights went out. The room plunged into darkness immediately. The girl's screams filled the air. My heart sank, and for some reason, Vanessa's reaction during the office blackout flashed in my mind. Instinctively, I turned to look for her. She was standing near the wall, her slender figure barely visible, completely still. I didn't know why, but worry crept into my heart, and I walked over. Vanessa. I called her name in a low voice. Everyone else was caught up in the game and didn't notice this little corner. She had her head slightly lowered, as if she didn't hear me, but her body was trembling, like she was trapped in a nightmare. I hesitated for a moment and gently touched the back of her hand. Suddenly, her hand gripped mine tightly, and in the next second, a soft, warm body fell into my arms. I hesitated for a moment, then wrapped her tightly in my arms, gently stroking her head. Don't be scared, I whispered. She held on to me tightly, her trembling body finally beginning to calm down. Suddenly, there was another bang and the lights came back on. Liam, come quick, Vanessa. Everyone turned and saw Vanessa and me still embracing in the corner. Vanessa instinctively pushed me away, caught off guard. I hit the wall with a dull thud. Vanessa seemed momentarily flustered. She took a step forward, as if to check on me. But with so many people around, she turned her head away. I can't remember how the rest of the event ended. All I recall are the occasional gossipy glances from others, filled with excitement and ambiguity. I felt a bit annoyed, but when I remembered Vanessa's cold hands and helpless expression in the dark, I knew I would do the same thing again if given the chance. Liam, you've really lost your mind. You swore not to get involved with Vanessa, and now what? On the way back, Ethan cautiously studied my expression, clearly dying to ask something. Liam, you and Vanessa. She's a little afraid of the dark. I cut him off, then added, one time when the power went out at the company, she didn't seem to react well, so I guessed. As soon as I said it, I realized I had said too much. It sounded like I was trying to cover something up. Ethan coughed. I get it now. Our Liam is always so considerate, taking care of people by instinct. It's definitely not because you're worried about her, and certainly not because you like her. Me, I replied. Just as I was about to refute, I patted my pocket and realized my phone was missing. I turned back to get it, and as I was heading upstairs to the second floor, I heard Alex's voice. He doesn't even like you. I froze, holding my breath. After a moment, I heard Vanessa's calm voice. That's none of your business, Alex. You come from completely different backgrounds, and to him, you're just a fling. Vanessa let out a soft, self-deprecating laugh. I wish. Alex fell silent. Vanessa added, don't bother me anymore. Even if he doesn't like me, that's my problem. With that, Alex slammed the door and left. Vanessa turned and started walking in my direction. I didn't have time to hide, so we ran right into each other. She looked surprised to see me. I quickly explained, I left my phone here. Her expression remained calm as she approached and pulled a phone from her pocket. I was just about to bring it to you. Here. I took it and tried to make small talk. Thanks, but next time we play something like this, it's better to make sure of the situation first. You never know. Staying silent for a while, she then smiled self-deprecatingly. If I didn't come, how could I see you? My heart started pounding uncontrollably again. Before, she had kept her feelings hidden and never confessed, so I could pretend not to know. But now, what's with these people today, being so straightforward? I felt a wave of frustration. I wanted to leave immediately, but after hearing what she had said to Alex, my feet wouldn't move. Vanessa. I took a deep breath. I thought I made myself clear that day. Vanessa paused, then said softly, I know, but you heard what I said just now, didn't you? I clenched my phone tightly, keeping my voice steady. Vanessa, this is going to cause problems for people. Alex was right. I don't like you. No matter what you say or do, I still won't be able to like you. Stop wasting your time on me. It's not worth it. Vanessa interrupted, her gaze unwavering and stubborn. You're not my boss. Why should you control me? I was stunned, momentarily speechless, unable to continue the conversation. I turned to leave. Vanessa followed behind. She was walking slowly, more composed than me, making it seem like I was the one running away. After a while, she suddenly asked, Liam, why did you come back to look for me earlier? My eyelids twitched, but I didn't answer, quickening my pace. As I reached the bottom of the stairs, a girl approached, smiling as she greeted Vanessa. Hey Mia, how was today? Her tone was familiar, clearly a close friend. The key detail was that this young girl was the owner of the murder mystery venue. She knew Vanessa. I stopped abruptly, turning to look at Vanessa in disbelief. You did this on purpose? The girl glanced between the two of us, hesitating. Vanessa told her, It was great. Then she pulled me by the wrist and led me out the door. The cool night breeze snapped me back to reality. The emotions churning inside me were uncontrollable, and I couldn't help but raise my voice. Vanessa, I'm asking you, did you plan this? Yes, Vanessa let go of my hand, her gaze steady as she slowly smiled. I did it on purpose. Her admission was so direct that I didn't know how to continue. I did it, and I admit it. She leaned in, her eyes locked onto mine as she asked, "Do you dare?" I took half a step back, but she followed, closing the distance. Her eyes twinkled like stars. "Do you dare to tell me why you came back to find me?" At that moment, I couldn't bring myself to look into her eyes, nor could I answer her question. In the long silence, Vanessa's lips slowly curled into a smile. "You like me." Her smile spread across her face, her tone so confident. "You were just worried about me, weren't you?" My face grew hot, and stubbornly I lifted my head and admitted, "Yes, you're wonderful. It's hard not to like you. Anyone would have a hard time not falling for such a beautiful and sweet girl. After all, I'm only human. But Vanessa, we can't be together." The smile on Vanessa's face faded as she quietly watched me. I pushed forward as if afraid I wouldn't have the courage to say this later. "You're amazing. But that's the problem. You're too amazing. I don't deserve you. I'm flattered that you like me, but that's it. One day you'll meet someone more suitable. Someone who loves you more." "Why didn't it work out with the woman you met on your last blind date?" Vanessa suddenly asked. I was caught completely off guard. "Why? Why was she bringing that up? That has nothing to do with you." "Of course it does." I rubbed my temples, feeling a headache coming on. "Vanessa, this isn't something I can explain in just a few words." But it seemed like Vanessa either didn't hear me or simply didn't care. She continued, "Your ex-girlfriend broke her promise and fell for someone else. But I'm not like her. I only like you." Even though I had already heard her confession, I have to admit that this direct approach was hard to deal with. "I'll learn to do whatever you like, and I'll avoid anything you dislike." Vanessa's expression was determined. "And besides, I won't find anyone more suitable or anyone I'll like more than you." I took a deep breath. "How do you know?" "I just know. Because I've liked you since I was 17. My mind went completely blank. The impact of Vanessa's words was overwhelming. It took me a long time to find my voice again. "But I didn't even know you back then. Do you remember 5 summers ago? In the 5D Experience Theater in Area C when there was a technical malfunction." I was stunned. You were there too. That time, I had originally planned to go with Emily, but she canceled at the last minute. Not wanting to waste the tickets, I went by myself. Halfway through the 5D movie, it suddenly stopped. The staff came in to apologize, saying there had been an equipment failure and they couldn't continue. They offered us free tickets as compensation. I was already in a bad mood because Emily had bailed on me, and this only made it worse. I had no interest in going back another time. I remember. Was that you sitting on my left? The theater wasn't big, and there weren't many people that day. A girl had sat to my left, but because it was so dark, I only remembered that she was slender. I didn't get a good look at her face. When the movie stopped and everything went dark, the staff asked us to leave. That's when I noticed the girl to my left hadn't moved at all. Sensing something was off, I gently tapped her shoulder. "Hey, we're leaving." She snapped out of her daze and looked up at me. "I have mild claustrophobia. I usually avoid places like theaters, but that time, I was too curious and went anyway." I didn't expect. Vanessa's words left me speechless for a long time. So we had met before, but it was so dark then. I couldn't see her face clearly. "How did you recognize me?" "Your voice," Vanessa said, her ears turning slightly red as she lowered her head. Her voice softened. "And, you always have this faint mint scent on your clothes. I've been using the same detergent for years." Wait, does Vanessa have the nose of a bloodhound? I thought. Vanessa looked back at me, her eyes clear and bright. "If it weren't for you that day, Anyway, liking someone has never required a reason. Even before I knew your name, before I knew what you looked like or who you were, I had already started liking you." She bit her lip. I remember you were looking down at your phone the whole time. I guessed you had a girlfriend, so I didn't think too much about it. But later, I saw you again on the subway and you were single. So, why not give me a chance? If others can have a chance, why can't I? Yeah, why can't she? That surge of emotion finally broke free. I pulled her into my arms and kissed her, because I like you, Vanessa. I held her hand tightly, my heart pounding out of my chest. It's not that you can't have a chance, it's that only you can. She blinked in surprise, and then pure joy lit up her eyes as she threw her arms around me, returning the kiss. As for the so-called differences between us, they didn't matter anymore. None of it mattered. It was just about the right you and the right me, finally in love on the same wavelength. 3 months later, I ran into Emily again. Seeing her standing outside my building irritated me. How did you find out where I live? When Emily saw me, her eyes lit up. But even so, she couldn't hide her exhaustion. Liam, she murmured, I've missed you. I kept my eyes on my phone. Vanessa had texted that she was almost here. Emily took 2 steps closer. Liam, I've broken up with Jake. Can we start over? What on earth is she talking about? I looked up at her, frowning. She bit her lip. I figured it out. The one I truly loved was you. Ever since we broke up, I've been thinking about you every day. Liam, 9 years is a long time. You've become a part of my life. I can't live without you. Please give me another chance. Okay. I had heard recently that Jake had blasted her and her mother all over social media, completely cutting ties with her. And now she was coming to me. Do I look like a fool? Sorry, I interrupted her. My girlfriend just arrived. Emily stared in the shock as a Mercedes pulled up. When she saw Vanessa step out of the car, her expression turned even more incredulous. Vanessa glanced at her briefly, not breaking stride as she approached me. Tilting her head with a smile, she asked, Did you wait long? I shook my head, but couldn't help whispering, Why the big entrance? It wasn't until I got together with Vanessa that I realized she came from a much wealthier family than I had thought. This girl had her own family business, but chose to work at our company. I guess that's what having money to burn looks like. Vanessa's eyes sparkled. Today's special. Emily suddenly called out, Stop pretending. I know you're Liam's colleague, not his girlfriend. Vanessa blinked. You're right. I'm not his girlfriend. Emily's face lit up with joy. I knew it. Liam was just trying to make me jealous. I'm his fiancé, Vanessa said with a bright smile. Emily's expression froze instantly. Vanessa wrapped her arm around mine, staking her claim. Please stop bothering my fiancé. He doesn't like it. Got it. On our intertwined hands were the wedding rings I had just bought. Today was the day we were going to register our marriage. Honestly, I thought it was too soon, but Vanessa acted quickly. After just a month of dating, she had already accompanied me back to my hometown to meet my parents. She charmed them with her words, and they instantly sided with her, starting to push for the wedding. By the 2nd month, she had introduced me to her parents, and as it turned out, her mother was a former client of mine, making our families already somewhat familiar. By the 3rd month, Vanessa had bought all kinds of little things and redecorated our home in the style she liked. So, just like fast-forwarding a timeline, we went straight to the wedding stage. Emily looked at our tightly clasped hands and the wedding rings, as if she had suffered a huge blow. Her face went pale, and after a long moment, she covered her face and slowly crouched down. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Her voice was hoarse, but I didn't feel anything. I gave Vanessa's hand a gentle tug and smiled. Hey, little classmate, time to go. Vanessa blinked, then smiled brightly. Okay, let's go.